what's up and welcome. I'm the one and only West Coast King and welcome back to Major League 90 where we're talking Major League Soccer. And as you can see, I've got no kid on today because we're now in an international break right in the middle of the playoffs. Best timing ever. But there's nothing you can really do about it. I mean, you can't blame the league for it. It's just that's the time that FIFA sets aside for international breaks. You can either observe those breaks or you cannot. Obviously, right now, we're going to do that because then we wouldn't have players for this weekend. If we were to play through it, that just would be bad. So it is what it is. We take it and we move on. But today, what we are going to be talking about is the second leg of the conference finals and the upcoming matchups now 2 weeks away in the conference finals. So let's get into this thing. So the first two games played on Sunday went exactly how I thought they would. Up until the final result, that did not go the way I expected. So let's start out with the first game played, which was LA on the road in Colorado. Honestly, I expected that to be very, very low scoring. I think I said 0-0 as a matter of fact, and it would have finished 0-0 if it hadn't been for Shkelzen Gashi unleashing an absolute laser beam from 40 yards out. He hit it with his left foot and it swerved so much. It started out going at the right post and ended up going in off the left post and into the goal. I mean, keeper Brian, he had no chance. Rowe had no chance in this world of saving that shot. It was absolutely perfect. And if that happened in the regular season, it's goal of the year. Hands down, that was one of the sickest goals I've seen in the MLS. It was ridiculous. And that was really all that happened in regulation. I mean, is anyone else glad that this series is over? Those two teams, and I don't even know what it is about them. LA's not that bad. I don't know if it's just that Colorado is kind of their kryptonite. The way they play, it just frustrates LA, and they can't do anything against it. Or if it's just that Colorado, they're not going to score goals regardless of who they play. But I don't know, but I'm just glad that series is over because it's boring. They scored 2 goals in 2 games combined. Just for comparison's sake, Giovinco scored 4 goals in the playoffs. Nicolas Ladero scored 3 goals in the playoffs. These two teams have scored 2. That is quite poor. I'm glad that series is over. It's just really, really boring. But it did end up going to pens. And that is not where you want to be if you're LA going up against Tim Howard. Especially with the quality of penalties that they took. Gerrard stepped up for their first one. Perfect. It was vintage Stevie G, buried it in the bottom corner. There's not a keeper in the world that's getting to it. It was a perfect penalty. Then it was all downhill from there. Dos Santos steps up, and I've said time and again, sometimes he just doesn't show up. That's not what you need from a guy that LA has brought in to kind of be the next generation of soccer in LA. Again, he was just abysmal in this game, and he just capped it off with one of the worst penalties you'll ever see. Airmails it into the stands, doesn't even make Tim Howard make a save, he just completely misses the goal. Then Ashley Cole steps up and P-rolls it into the corner. That's not beating Tim Howard. And then to top it off, Laurentowicz steps up after that and says, you know what, I liked Ashley Cole's thinking, I'm going to P-roll it identical to his into the same corner. And he might as well have just gone up, scooped the ball up with his hand, and gone and handed it to Tim Howard and go, I got no chance, because that was never going to get it done either. And Colorado goes through on penalties. I can't believe LA's knocked out, but I'm just glad that series is over. You know what? We'll move on to the next one, because that was just the most boring 2-leg series I've ever seen in my life. So on we go to the Big Apple, where New York was hosting Montreal, and I said New York was going to come out and attack. They did. They got their shots. Had, 17 shots in that game. Montreal didn't look good, to be honest. They were kind of bad in that game. But they did what they needed to do. And in the end, it got the job done. They didn't pass the ball well. They didn't have nearly any possession. But they got out on the counterattacks. And they finished their opportunities. Specifically, Piatti, who I think should be at least in consideration for the MVP because he's been absolutely fantastic this season. At times when they didn't have Drogba, all season, regardless if they had Drogba, he's been their best player, and he scored quite a few goals for them, stepped up in this one, scored 2 more goals, and put that thing away. And on a day where they weren't the better team. New York was absolutely the better team, but New York couldn't finish their opportunities, and what little opportunities Montreal did get, they finished. So, hats off to them. They knocked out the number 1 seed. Red Bulls go home once again. Disappointing end to the season for them. I don't know if they're ever going to be able to get it done. This was a golden opportunity for them. I thought they had the chance, and they played very, very well. Just in the end, it wasn't enough, and that seems to be the story with them. It's just never quite enough to get the job fully done, and they get knocked out of the playoffs once again. Montreal goes through to the conference finals. In the other Eastern Conference semifinal matchup, we had Toronto going to Yankee Stadium to take on New York City, up 2-0 on aggregate. That game went exactly how I expected it to go. Not to that extent. I didn't expect that to happen, but that did go pretty much the way I expected. New York needed to come out and go for it and absolutely just push the ball, push the tempo, and try to score early to get back in this thing. And Giovinco put a stop to that about 5 minutes in when he scored his second goal of the playoffs. And he didn't stop there. He just kept scoring and scoring, and Toronto kept scoring and scoring. Somehow, at one point, they had more people in the box offensively than New York had defensively. I don't know how that's possible when you're already winning the game like 3 or 4-0. I don't really know what happened there, but that's pretty much how I expected the game to go. New York was going to push numbers forward, and Toronto was just going to hit them. And they kept hitting them, and they just kept beating them into the ground, and I just felt bad for those fans and that team. There was nothing they could do. That goalkeeper, Johansson, I think his name was, wow, I would just like quit or move to a different country, because nobody's forgetting that in a very, very long time. That last goal by Giovinco, the dipping shot, Johansson had never seen anything like that in his life. I mean, it went up and down so fast. He barely had time to react, and he dove high, and the ball just went straight. Wow. It was bad. It was absolutely bad. It was one of the most lopsided games I've seen in the MLS in a very, very long time. Already up 2-0 on aggregate. Toronto throttles New York City in Yankee Stadium 5-0. Moving through 7-0 on aggregate. I think we know who the clear favorite is for these playoffs. I don't think there's a team in this league right now that's gonna knock Toronto off. I don't see it happening. This international break kind of may slow them down a little bit, but at this point, the way they're playing, Giovinco and Altidore up top, there's not been a better pairing up top since Obafemi Martins and Clint Dempsey in 2014. They looked ridiculously good. This pairing is better. It's that scary right now. They are just completely unstoppable. And in the final matchup on Sunday, we had Seattle going to Dallas, up 3-0 on aggregate. A fantastic home performance by Seattle put them in a very, very good spot. I said last week that this game was going to end 2-1 Dallas, and it ended 2-1 Dallas. It went exactly how I expected, though to be fair, I didn't expect Dallas, and I don't think anybody did, including that Sounders team, expect Dallas to come out and just go for it. And they shot from anywhere and everywhere in that first half. You could see their game plan was just to put the balls on target, put it in dangerous spots, hope for deflections or rebounds, and just by sheer force, push the ball into the goal. And they did. They got one goal pretty early on, and that turned the game a little bit. As Seattle were on their heels the entire first half, it was very, very dangerous. Dallas is kind of unlucky not to have at least 2 goals in that first half, just by the number of shots they took. You would assume more than one would find the back of the net, but my God, Stephen Fry has been the best goalkeeper in the league in these playoffs. Him and Tim Howard have been very, very good. I'd say Stephen Fry's been just a little bit better. Yes, he ended up giving 2 goals up in the end. That first one to Tesho Akindele, he could do nothing about. It's just a looping header over his head. A very, very nice finish from Tesho. And the second goal, just a bit unlucky as well. I mean, Dallas was good in that game. They were very, very good. But after halftime, Seattle regrouped, got their composure, and they got that away goal in the end. And that's all they needed. They just needed to come out, score 1 goal. That would mean that Dallas needed 5. There was no way they were going to score 5. Not possible they were going to score 5 on that defense. Seattle's just been too good lately, and Seattle finds themselves in the conference finals. So looking ahead now to these conference finals. In the East, it's an all-Canadian affair with Toronto taking on Montreal. And if I'm not mistaken, no Canadian team has ever made it to the MLS Cup Finals. That will definitely change this season, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to pick Toronto in this one. I have no idea who or if there is a team that can beat them. I said it, I don't think there is. Not right now. Not against that team the way they're playing. It's just not possible. I mean, Montreal might be able to do it, but again, they're very inconsistent. You never know which Montreal team is going to show up. They didn't play well against New York in that second leg, yet they somehow found a way to win. That was more on New York just not finishing their shots and less about Montreal actually going and getting it. They just kind of happened to do enough, I would say. But that's not going to get it done against Toronto. You're going to be looking at another 5-0 in the first leg, and you're already out of it. So I'm going to have to pick Toronto in that matchup. I don't even want to predict the score because anything could happen there. It could be I don't think it's going to be 7-0. I don't think that's going to happen. That would be just very, very rare. But I do think Toronto ends up moving on in the Eastern Conference. And in the Western Conference, I'm going to pick Seattle. I am going to pick Seattle just because of the fact that, yes, I know defense travels. It does. Offense, not so much. Sometimes your offense can't get it done on the road. Defense plays well no matter where you play. That's why Colorado has had such a good record this year, why they were in the Supporter Shield running throughout the entire season, and why they were able to beat LA. But I don't think that they can stop Seattle at home. I don't think it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to be low scoring again, but Seattle finds a way to score goals and win games at home. That's just been their MO ever since Schmetzer took over and Nico Ladero showed up. They score goals and win games at home, and there's no really stopping them there. If they can do that and go back to Colorado with maybe a 2 or 3-0 aggregate lead like they had against Dallas, no way Colorado is going to score more than 1 or 2 goals in any game. They just won't do it, especially with the way I said Stefan Frei and that defense is playing. They are second best defense right now in the playoffs to Colorado. They are good. They are a very, very solid defense in their own right. I don't think Colorado's going to be able to score enough goals to beat Seattle. If they can get 1 or 2 at home, that could be enough to see them through to the finals. And I know I'm a Sounders fan, and you kind of have to take it, my prediction there with a grain of salt, but I truly believe that if the Sounders can put a couple on the board at home, Colorado isn't going to come back. Not against that defense. The Seattle's defense right now is almost as good as Colorado's. And the worst offensive team in the playoffs is going to score goals against that defense? I don't think so. We'll have to see how it works out, but I truly believe the Sounders have the upper hand in that matchup. And that would set up a Seattle and Toronto finale being played in Toronto. That matchup, I don't think I'm going to pick the Sounders there. Nope, I wouldn't pick anybody there. Even if Colorado knocks out Seattle and Toronto has to go to Colorado, the best defense in the league against the best offensive team left in the playoffs and the hottest offensive team anywhere right now, that would be interesting. Still not going to get it done. I still think Toronto wins that matchup. I just don't think anyone's stopping Toronto right now, but we'll have to see how it goes. Hell, Montreal could knock Toronto out. It could happen, right? You could do it. You're not going to do it, Montreal. It's not going to happen, but either way, I'm excited for the conference finals coming up in 2 weeks and the finals coming up after that. So that's going to be it for this episode. If you did enjoy it, make sure to let me know by leaving a like below. Subscribe if you're new, and I will see you when the playoffs return in 2 weeks. See ya.